The next item is proclamations and recognitions. And tonight we have a virtual presentation from our community survey organizer or executor at Polco. And I don't know if our assistant city manager, Renee Eisenweiss, wants to introduce this. And this is our first look at the community survey results. And we do these every few years. So with that, I'll turn this to Renee.
Yes, thank you, Mayor and City Council. Tonight we have Grace Arneson, a senior project manager at Polco, to present the city's 2025 community survey results. The city has been doing surveys since the late 1980s to measure resident satisfaction levels with a variety of services and programs. And staff are pleased to announce that once again, we received high marks in the survey, with 96% rating the quality of life as excellent or good, which places Shoreview as the top city in 20 of our peer cities. So Grace has a short presentation with time for questions afterwards, and then staff will be bringing this back to the January 20th City Council workshop for more discussion as well. So with that, I will turn it over to Grace.
Thank you so much, Renee. All right. Well, thank you for having me. I'm very happy to be here to present a summary of the findings from Shoreview's National Community Survey. Before we thank, I do want to extend my gratitude to Renee. She was our primary contact throughout the survey process, and she provided really helpful detail along every step of the way. I also want to thank my colleague Cindy Mays, who is also on this call. She was Shoreview's project manager this year and did the bulk of the work for this project. So this presentation will cover quite a bit, but we'll have some time at the end for questions. But first, a little bit about Polco and the surveys we administer. So Polco is an online community engagement platform providing local governments with resident and employee feedback. Hundreds of organizations nationwide use Polco for strategic planning, budgeting, and empowering resident voices. And Polco merged with National Research Center back in 2019. NRC is best known for our benchmarking surveys, including the NCS, CASOA, the Employee Survey, and the National Law Enforcement Survey, among others. Our benchmark database is the largest of its kind in the US, which I'll touch on in just a few slides. And Polco also partners closely with ICMA, NLC, as well as many other local government and academic leaders. So I want to emphasize that there are a few ways that these results can be used. Most often, the communities we work with use these data to track trends over time, monitoring that resident opinion and informing budgeting decisions along with strategic planning. These results also allow you to compare Shoreview's results to those of other communities in our benchmark database. And as we walk through the findings today, I really hope that they spark ideas of where you might want to dig deeper. So briefly walking through the survey instrument itself, it covers these 10 facets of livability you see on the screen here, and it is a standardized 5-page survey that's really designed to help municipalities understand resident opinions about their community and the local government. The survey itself focuses on the overall livability. However, we also have these facets which align with different departments in the city so that you can really find your results that relate directly to your work. So before we dive into the results, I want to provide a brief overview of the survey methodology. This was Shoreview's second time conducting the NCS, with the first taking place in 2022. And we began with our sampling process. So we purchased a list of USPS households, and using that list of addresses, we overlaid GIS boundary files provided by the city and removed any addresses that were outside of our city limits. From that list, the 3,000 households selected to take the survey received mailings. That began on August 28th, and the survey remained open for about 6 weeks. Now, the first mailing was a postcard inviting residents to take the survey, while the second was a survey packet. The survey packet contained a cover letter, a postage paid return envelope, as well as a paper survey. So both the postcard along with the cover letter did have a link and a QR code if folks preferred to take the survey online. So a total of 574 responses were received, providing an overall response rate of 19% and a margin of error of about plus or minus 4%. I just want to pause here and mention that our current average for 2025 is a response rate right around 11 to 12%. So Shoreview is certainly an engaged community. When we entered analysis, we compared the demographic profile of the survey respondents to the actual demographic makeup of Shoreview using the most recent census and American Community Survey data, and we weighted those survey results. So weighting is a survey research best practice and really helps to improve the overall representativeness of your survey results. In addition to this random sample survey, we also provided the city with a link to the open participation survey, which is a community-wide version that all residents were welcome to participate in. We had that open for about 2 weeks and 241 responses were received total. But this presentation and the report are primarily based on those 574 responses from the random sample mail-based survey. Those open participation results are included at the end of the online report. So as I mentioned earlier, one of the key benefits of participating in our surveys is the ability to compare your ratings with those ratings across the nation. So this allows jurisdictions to see how their services and community characteristics stack up against similar services in other communities. And our benchmark database currently has about 400 communities in it. For the survey, Shoreview received comparisons to the full benchmark database, which I'll refer to as the national benchmark. But Shoreview also opted to compare to a custom cohort of communities that had more similar characteristics. So I'll be referring to those as the custom benchmark throughout this presentation. So now diving into the results from the survey. In the survey, we asked 2 questions that ask directly about those 10 facets of community livability that I mentioned earlier. The first asks residents to rate the quality of each, and you can see the resulting comparison to the national benchmark in the chart here. So you'll see that Parks and Recreation received the highest quality ratings and scored above the national benchmark, with natural environment and safety following closely behind. Facets with relatively lower quality ratings included inclusivity and engagement, along with mobility, though these were in line with the national benchmark. The second question asks about those same 10 facets of livability, but is centered on how important residents think it is for the community to focus on each of these in the coming 2 years. So here, residents place the highest priority on natural environment, safety, and parks and recreation. And education, arts and culture, and inclusivity and engagement were rated as slightly lower priorities by comparison. So we ask about both the quality as well as the importance of these facets, and we use these to create a gap chart, which is on the next slide here. So we use this chart, which is also included in the report, to help identify areas that are of relatively higher importance, but lower quality to residents. This is one of many ways to interpret your data, but it can really help surface areas where a community might want to focus or allocate resources in the coming years. But one interesting thing here, as you look at this chart, you'll notice that several areas are higher in quality and lower in importance, which typically indicates strong satisfaction across the community. Similarly, many items that residents rated as highly important were also very high in quality, suggesting alignment between community priorities and performance. So of the 121 survey items for which residents provided evaluative ratings, 88 were higher than the national benchmark, 33 were similar, and we didn't have a single item that was lower than the national benchmark. Here, ratings are considered similar if they are within 10 points of the national average, and higher or lower if they are more than 10 points different from the average. In terms of those custom benchmarks I mentioned earlier, Shoreview was higher in 43 items. Shoreview had 78 similar ratings, and no items were lower than the custom benchmark. Lastly, we have some trend data from 2022 to 2025. In terms of those trends, there was one item that was rated higher in 2025, and that was how safe do you feel from property crime? 112 were similar to 2022, and 8 received lower ratings. So the items here that were trending downward included the federal government, local government treating residents with respect, employment opportunity, along with several affordability-centered ratings, which I'll touch on in a few slides here. So moving now into the highlights of our findings, I want to point out that these are things that really stood out to us as survey researchers, but there's a lot of additional data in the report that we won't cover today. But these are the things we found most noteworthy in the results. So first, most residents experience a high quality of life in Shoreview. About 97% of residents positively rated Shoreview as a place to live, while about 96% felt that the overall quality of life in the city was excellent or good, along with the overall image or reputation of Shoreview. Additionally, over 9 in 10 residents plan to remain in the city for the next 5 years and would recommend living in Shoreview if someone asked. All of these ratings here were higher than the national benchmark and remain consistent with 2022 results. Key finding 2, residents appreciate many aspects of the city's leadership and governance. So when asked about Shoreview's government performance, results were largely positive, indicating widespread satisfaction. About 94% of residents rated the overall customer service provided by Shoreview employees as excellent or good. And about 8 in 10 residents offered positive ratings for the local government, treating residents with respect and being honest. Nearly 8 in 10 also rated the government positively for generally acting in the best interest of the community. And about 3/4 of residents rated the government positively for treating all residents fairly and expressed that they had high overall confidence in Shoreview's local government. More than 7 in 10 respondents rated being open and transparent to the public positively, while about 70% positively rated how the government informs residents about issues facing the community. So as you'll see in the shading here, all of these items were higher than the national benchmark, with ratings for local government acting in the best interest of the community and openness and transparency exceeding the custom benchmark, along with a residents' overall confidence in Shoreview government. Residents also view Shoreview as a very safe community. So nearly all residents, about 98%, indicated that they feel safe in their neighborhood during the day, while about 95% expressed feeling safe in the downtown and commercial area. About 9 in 10 felt safe from violent crime and property crime, with the latter increasing since 2022 and scoring higher than the custom benchmark. Both of those items were also higher than the national benchmark. And about 9 in 10 residents indicated that they feel safe from flood, fire, or other natural disaster. In terms of safety services, nearly all residents expressed satisfaction with fire services, while about 9 in 10 positively reviewed ambulance and EMS services, followed closely by sheriff services and fire prevention and education. About 9 in 10, a little less, but close there, positively rated crime prevention and animal control, with both of those items scoring higher than the national benchmark. Key finding number 4, mixed economic ratings reflect both strengths and improvement across the city. So when asked about the local economy, about 86% of residents expressed satisfaction with Shoreview as a place to work, higher than both the custom and national benchmark. Roughly 8 in 10 rated the overall quality of business and service establishments as excellent or good, and a similar proportion valued Shoreview as a place to visit, which was also higher than both the national and custom benchmark. However, there were several declining trends here, and they were largely related to affordability, which is not too big of a surprise and is really in line with some of the national trends we're seeing. But about 7 in 10 residents positively rated the availability of affordable quality health care, which was higher than the national benchmark but lower than in 2022. Roughly 2/3 rated the availability of affordable quality food positively, also a decline since 2022. And childcare was availability of affordable childcare was positively rated by a little less, about 63%, although that was higher than the national benchmark, but again, trending downward since 2022. About 6 in 10 residents positively rated the variety of business and service establishments along with employee opportunities. These were similar to the benchmark, though employment opportunities was declining since 2022. And lastly, the availability of affordable quality housing, while higher than the benchmark at 45%, was declining since 2022 as well. Number 5, Parks and Recreation is a strong asset for Shoreview residents. So these results are certainly something to be proud of. As you'll notice here, everything is higher than the national and custom benchmark, and nearly all residents expressed satisfaction with city parks at 97% excellent or good, and about 9 in 10 residents positively rated recreation centers or facilities, the availability of paths and walking trails, fitness opportunities, recreation programs or classes, along with recreational opportunities. So really applauding the Parks and Recreation Department here. Number 6, readings suggest strengths in mobility with lower scores for public transportation. So about 9 in 10 residents were satisfied with the ease of travel by car, along with the ease of public parking in Shoreview. These were both higher than the national benchmark, and about 8 in 10 were satisfied with the traffic flow on major streets, the ease of walking, and ease of travel by bicycle. All of these items were higher than both the national and custom benchmark. However, in contrast, only about 3 in 10 indicated that they were satisfied with the ease of travel by public transportation, though this was similar to the benchmark. When asked about mobility services, over 8 in 10 residents were satisfied with street cleaning, sidewalk maintenance, snow removal, and street lighting, while about 8 in 10 were satisfied with traffic enforcement. These were all higher than the national benchmark as well. So in addition to our standard survey questions, Shoreview asked several custom questions that were unique to the community. The first asked, from what you know, how much do you approve or disapprove of the job that the mayor and city council are doing? About 6 in 10 residents said that they strongly or somewhat approve of the job that the mayor and city council are doing, with only about 7% stating that they disapproved, while 30% said they had no opinion or didn't know. Compared to 2022, a higher proportion strongly approved, while a relatively smaller share somewhat approved. We also asked about the quality of election services following some recent changes, and about 7 in 10 residents positively rated communications about upcoming elections, with 34% rating it as excellent or good, 36% as good, and 17% as fair. About 4 in 10 also positively viewed the absentee voting experience, with 29% rating it as excellent, 11% as good. There was a larger proportion here, of course, that didn't know about the absentee experience at about 54%. Lastly, about 8 in 10 residents were satisfied with their election day experience, with 50% rating it as excellent and 27% as good. We have just 5% that indicated it was fair. So residents were also asked how much they support or oppose moving from a private hauler garbage collection system to an organized system. These results were really in line with what we saw in 2022 as we asked this question in the previous iteration as well. So just over half of residents expressed support for the change, including 25% who strongly supported it and about 27% who somewhat supported it. About 3 in 10 opposed the change, with 20% strongly opposing it and about 11% somewhat opposed. Roughly 17% indicated that they didn't know or didn't have an opinion. And among those who supported the change, the most commonly cited reasons were lower cost and reduced truck traffic. In those who opposed the change, they frequently cited that they were satisfied with their current hauler and they like having the preference to be able to choose their own hauler. Residents were also asked about barriers that limit their ability to participate in city meetings and other civic engagement opportunities. We are covering the top 3 barriers that emerged here. So the most commonly cited barrier was lack of time due to other commitments, followed by lack of awareness about overall process or opportunities, and lastly, difficulty about finding information about opportunities for participation. And lastly, when asked about the city's overnight parking rules, about 6 in 10 community members support the rules, with roughly 3 in 10 opposing. So a quick summary of conclusions here. Residents experience a high quality of life in Shoreview. They express strong confidence in city leadership and governance. Residents also view Shoreview as a very safe community. Mixed economic ratings reflect both strengths and opportunities for improvement for the city. And ratings suggest strengths in mobility with relatively lower scores for public transportation. If you wish to dig deeper about any of these items we covered, Shoreview currently has about 16,000 subscribers on Polco, and we have a lot of tools that can help you share different pulse surveys and create items for outreach. So if you have any interest, please reach out. With that, I will open up the room for questions. Thank you so much.
Any immediate questions come to mind? Councilmember Gardner.
Mayor, I see that we're having a workshop on this in January, so I think I would hold off on some of those until then, but I do have a question about statistically significant responses. I know we're so full focus now, and there's areas where we ticked up a little bit and areas where we ticked down a little bit, which I'm assuming is statistical noise that we shouldn't necessarily be worried about, but there are several areas where you had nifty graphics to show us something that goes beyond your standard deviation, what have you. Just trying to distinguish between the two.
Grace, you're muted. Oh, Grace. You're muted.
Sorry about that. I was having a bit of a hard time hearing you there. Was your question about statistical significance from year to year or
Yes.
the overall statistical significance?
Just the change from year to year. What should we distinguish from noise versus what's serious thing about?
Yes, definitely. So I'm not sure of the exact percentage, but we essentially took the total count of respondents from 2022 and compared that to 2025. And anything that was higher than our statistical significance threshold has an indicator on the report that it is a statistically significant change. So those will be indicated with either an up or a down arrow on the report if they reach that threshold. But those that were just slightly changing and are noise, like you mentioned, those will not have the statistical significance indicator next to them.
Other questions at this point? If not, we will be looking at it. Again, I just had one that popped out at me, and that was the availability of affordable quality healthcare. And I was looking at that from an availability standpoint or an affordability, and it seemed to me it might, you have to look into, I suppose, if there are comments specific to that to determine that, but because I was trying to think if anything had changed in terms of clinics opened or availability of, accessibility, but I think it more maybe has to do with that affordability component that showed up with housing, daycare. So we'll look into that more. So with that, I didn't think we have no more questions at this point, and we will be looking at the survey results again, but this was a good opportunity to share it with anybody who is interested in the meeting. But we'll be looking at these more to see where there are opportunities where we can improve or learn more about what residents are thinking. So, thank you very much, Grace.
Thank you very much.
Appreciate it. So with that, we'll move to our next item of business, which is citizens' comments. And this is in time that the council